Good morning, and thank you for joining us on another amazing Saturday morning. We know you could be doing many, many things, but you are here with us and enjoying the morning with some good information and inspiration. I have the amazing K Soul here. She is a plus size model. She's an artist. She's doing so many things, got songs coming out, been on stage. Amazing journey that we are definitely going to get into. So thank you for joining us. And Kay, please introduce yourself.
Good morning. Thank you so much for having me. I'm excited to talk to you today. As you said, I'm a singer, songwriter, aspiring plus model based in Chicago. I've been doing it all my life, but probably professionally, probably for about the last 10 years.
That's amazing. So I know there's a lot of people out there, and I usually go on like your journey and your mindset through that journey that you had and all the things that mentally you had to overcome to make you the amazing person you are today. Because we all go through everything, and people never know what. Like I know a friend of mine said, it's what's in the middle. They see you in the beginning of your journey. They see where you are when you finish and get to the end of your journey. You're successful, but they don't see the middle. Like that's the part that everybody leaves out and not get that full understanding. But how did you get started?
Well, as far as music is concerned, it's something that has always been very present in my life. I've always enjoyed music. I grew up in the church, and that was always my favorite part of the service was the choir and the hymns and the singing. So I like to think that I started there because I believe, it sparked something inside of me as a very small child that like, wow, I really connect with this musical way of expression, and it really became a safe space for me as I grew up.
Right. That's like really good. So I know you started singing in the church. What was your first song you sang? Do you remember?
Oh gosh. The one thing that sticks out to me was I used to like try to enter the talent competitions at school, and I
Mhm.
sang this song called the Tree Song. And I just remember being so nervous, and it was this song about a tree that was growing. It was like a spiritual song, but yeah, that's like the first solo I think I really remember.
Okay. And when you first got on stage after you started like beyond, school and also the church, and you actually stood on stage for the very first time singing what you wrote, where were you and how did you feel? Like what was going through your mind?
I was, I think the year was probably 2006, maybe. I was working with this local label. We were doing a high school tour, like inspiration to the students for that day, and we were their entertainment. And I wrote a song called Young Girl that I sang, and talk about nerves, like, because you know what I mean? Like, they don't know me, they don't know my music, but it was a great experience. I mean, this is kind of something you have to eventually just jump out there.
Right. Yeah, and I mean, I totally get it. Like, actually, pretty much anything we do, we really just jumping out there and doing it, right? Like, no matter what it is, if you are when you get out of college and high school, you are jumping out there and just pretty much doing it. When you get out of so many transitions in your life as you're going through life, there are times that you just got to jump out there. And I remember when Steve Harvey, he said, "Don't worry about the leap and the parachute. You just jump."
Yeah.
And you'll catch yourself on the way down because with that, you don't take that leap. You get scared. You start doubting yourself. You start having a lot of self-talk that drives you away from it. So like all that self-talk, what did you have to tell yourself or what practices did you have to do to like get out of your fears and get out of your self-doubt?
Oh my gosh. That self-doubt is something serious. It can be
Yes.
very paralyzing. It just stops you dead in your tracks. I think for me, I had to do a lot of my own soul searching. Like, why do you want to do this? How do you want to move your life forward? And really trying to combat those thoughts. Really going at them head first, like, those thoughts that tell you aren't good enough and you have to like surround yourself. I would write positive affirmations on the wall and buy little quotes and little things from Marshalls that have like those inspirational quotes, just so I started to fill my environment with those positive words.
And that's like really powerful. I tell that a lot in a lot of the videos and like the master classes that I do. When you're starting off, when you're getting started to gaining your confidence and becoming the person who you want to be and not being the person who you are, it's a lot of reinforcement because it takes practice to have that positivity. It takes practice to get rid of that self-doubt. And like you said, I had shirts that said exquisite. I had cups. I had Maya Angelou. Maya Angelou, she had, that quote, when people show you who they are, believe that. Had that on there, like keep yourself focused and make sure that the people who you are attracting to you, you see them for how they are. And that's fine, but you have to make those educated decisions on who is going to be on my team. What am I going to do? Who am I going to listen to? Which area and direction do I go? Because you got to pick out a manager. You have to do all those things yourself coming out the box, right? So tell us that journey. How did you get that journey of getting that manager and finding the right person to represent you?
Like, how long do we have?
We got an hour, but we right in the beginning, so we good.
You are that is very hard because it's like the growth that you have to do as an artist or brand, whatever your brand is, the growth that you have to do. There's like you said, that personal growth, but then you do need help. You do need people around. I did need producers and management and music director, and so I think for me, I started networking, I started just trying to tap into different resources that I had just to see what those relationships could be, because I am a relationship person. I really don't like to like jump around and work with, I really like to start to build that bond. And it's been a prayer. I've had to pray and like just face the facts, like you said with that quote. Realize like, okay, this person has shown me that they really aren't for me. Let them go. So, it's a lot of that. It's, that shedding and coming back and what do I want? What do I don't want? So I think it's a continuous process that I feel like I'm still on, really.
Yeah. And you do, truthfully, you're always on that process because you're growing. And as you're growing, some people are growing, some people are not growing. And it's always some shifting and moving around. And sometimes you got to transform and just rebuild yourself completely at times. It's just, the journey, like I said, that middle part of that journey, that misunderstood part of the journey that people don't see, it can really take a lot of toll on you because it takes practice to focus in on what your goals are, and then the planning to how you're going to accomplish the goals. But as much planning as you can do all the planning in the world, and it still does not go exactly the way that you want it to go. You always have some little hiccups and nuances that you just not even accustomed to. You like, what is this? Like, so yeah. What I want to know, what was the biggest thing at this point of your career was your biggest takeaway?
At this point in my career, I would say my biggest takeaway is you have to get started. Like, if it was left up to us, we would always be able to find something in ourselves or in our situation that told us that we're not ready. That says, oh no, don't do it now because you still need XYZ. I've really learned sometimes you just gotta go. You just gotta do it. You gotta believe in yourself. A lot of times that is a way to push past that self-doubt, because it's like, okay, now I'm on stage and everybody's looking at me and the music's playing. So you're gonna sing or you're gonna flop. And so you start to put yourself in uncomfortable situations. And I had to learn to not be scared of that. Those uncomfortable moments, because that's really where I grew. I grew in those times when I put myself in those situations and pushed myself to move forward, and it also starts to perfect whatever it is that you're doing, because you start to see, like you said, all the obstacles come your way. You become more able to adapt because life does happen. You know what I mean? But you do have to adapt. And in order to push forward in your dreams, at some point, you are going to have to face challenges and be able to push through those.
Right, right. It's not just enough to know that you got to do it yourself, but you got to know when you need to enforce it. You got to catch yourself in those triggers where you're falling back to your old habits of being who you were and not who you're becoming. So then it's going back in and saying, you know what? Wait a minute, this is, I'm thinking the wrong way about this. Let me stop and let me regroup and let me rethink about how I'm looking at this process and how I'm looking at this picture, because I got to stay on, on focus, and I got to stay on task. And I tell people that's a lot of the hardest ones. Even if you get a coach, a therapist, a mentor, you have a manager, it doesn't really matter who's there, because you know when your first initial feeling of that emotion is, and you know when it's coming, you feel it coming on, you know what you feel like, and it's being aware of your feelings and what you're feeling at the time so you can express it. Because I think that's another like caveat, is being able to tell your manager, your family, or anybody that's there, your mentor, your coach, like, hey, I'm having a point right now that I just really need you, and so having a building a support system is like huge, like really huge.
Yes, it
Yes.
is.
So I want to know, like, right now in your journey, I know you said that you're doing music, and we're going to definitely get into that because you got some amazing stuff out there. So music, and then we're also going to get into your modeling. So I know even with the music, that was one set, but did you have to do a whole mindset change? Did you have to like redirect how you were thinking about a lot of things going into modeling?
I absolutely did. It definitely was a place where I got a whole lot of no's. Especially being a plus size model, and then trying to figure out how to kind of get into the industry. Where do I go? What designers to work with? And it really was a different type of confidence boost. Music was really about this like talent and songwriting and singing, but modeling became like a challenge of me to, do I really love my body? Do I really, am I really in a place where I can project positive body image? And it became a challenge in that way. And what is that? And seeing the industry shift to like this kind of almost, if you are body positive, you need to be naked. And I didn't feel like that was the way I wanted to show my body positivity. So it challenged me in other ways, and kind of dealt with some of that other stuff that I needed to deal with, as far as loving my own body and my own self-image. And because I want to be very honest in my brand. And so if I'm telling women, hey, love yourself, love your body, accept yourself, I'm looking back at myself like, but are you doing that? Are you accepting yourself? So it was really making me challenge in those areas with the modeling.
And you hit like a really big one. And I know a lot of people talk about, in order for you to love other people, you have to love yourself, right? So we've heard that so long, and you think, well, I gotta love me so I can have somebody to love me. And it goes so much deeper than that, because you can have the love of, well, think that you have the love for yourself, and then later on realize, I didn't love myself enough. Because you have those moments where, like, I really know I love myself. I love myself. I know I do. And I don't know if it's just the convincing of loving yourself, or understanding the actuality of loving yourself. Right. Because they're two different things, because you can think that you love yourself, but you love yourself, and you definitely know you love yourself when everything is starting to fall right into place for you. Everything is working out exactly, the way that you envision it, and better. That's when you like, what? It's showing on the outside, because that love that you have for yourself is what's going to push your success. Yep. It's going to push you in the exact way that you need to go to keep building on your success and things of that nature. So I think it's Lane Bryant. And who else do you model for on the plus size?
I've modeled for Lane Bryant. I've modeled for Avenue. I've modeled for multiple local designers in Chicago, Portland. I've modeled for a designer out of Milwaukee. So I've been really blessed to connect with a lot of independent plus designers and be able to represent them in their endeavors, as well as, my last set of pictures. The clothes were by Introverted Expressions. I'm one of their brand ambassadors. So it's been great to, really develop those relationships. And it works well with my music because I always need something to wear for
Yes.
something. So being able to have those resources makes it, a lot easier when I need stuff to wear.
And let's talk about that just a little bit because it does. And I know a lot of people like not thinking about it because no matter which part of business you're in, you got to have those resources and networking and have those vendors and people that are in the right place to help you completely shine. Right. So, like, did you already know like some fashion designers or you just started getting into it once you got into singing and doing, doing that part of it? Like, how did you build your external team? Like, we got your internal team, but how did you really get your external team?
I think it was, I knew someone when I first started, I knew someone who knew a designer that was in my city and she was looking for brand ambassadors. So I reached out that way. Shout out to Conchita to be continued jeans.
There you
She's
go.
a great plus designer in Chicago. And once I started like doing fashion shows for her, that opened me up to meet other models, other designers. And then I kind of also did my research because I wanted to see what else is out here, who's doing what, because you do also have to study your industry. You should probably look and see what's going on, who's wearing what, doing what, just so you know and see what may work for you. And then sometimes you just have to reach out. Sometimes I would just reach out, hey, I'm a singer, I'm doing this, I need a dress for this, and you start to build relationships that way.
So that, look, all kind of nuggets right here. Like, when you come in on the show, I love to always make sure that they're getting the information that they need because I know a lot of people get stuck and they're like, well, I want to do this, but I just don't know how. And a lot of people are stuck on the how. And you're stuck on the how because, like you said, you got to do the research. You really got to research it. I can't express it enough of what researching can do for your career in any business. The success of your career goes on how much information you know about that area, how much you know about your business, how much you know about yourself, right? So you got to really be in tune. And that's why, like a lot of the coaching I do is personal development and self-awareness, because having those areas in your life where you're moving around on different levels in life, if you're not in tune with yourself and have that love for yourself and that awareness and understanding that I need, to have my discernment up so I could pay attention to who's around me and to understand, do I keep them, do I not? And I call those liabilities and assets, right? So I take financial terms and put it into, just regular everyday, because you got to look at it the same way. If you have that drive for money, then let's take that drive for money and put it in your everyday life and let's use those words so we can stay consistent, right? So you have people who are liabilities in your life, the ones who are not looking out for your well-being or steering you the wrong way because they just don't know and they didn't do their research. And then you have people who are assets, right? So like in your liabilities and assets, and I know we go through all of them, especially with vendors and, making sure you find that right one, because the first thing they're thinking is, oh, I can get it out there and I can say I got this artist and she's doing my thing and I want to exploit her voice versus really listening to what she needs and giving her what she needs. Like, how did you navigate through that?
That is so, I mean, that point right there is so on point. Even with like some of the music that I've been putting out, that message right there about everybody won't go where you're trying to go. And every experience definitely wasn't good. You do have those people that they're really not for your interest. They're just kind of there and they'll do maybe the bare minimum to appear that way.
Yeah.
It was been a lot of prayer. I have been blessed because I have met some really great people, like my music director, my producer, my engineer. They're like, they're legit, they've been around and they listen, and you can start to really tell, like you said, that discernment. I'm a very purpose driven type of individual, so I don't do anything without intentionality. I like to be very intentional, and a lot of times you can tell when people aren't really for you for that, because they'll just suggest random things and you're like, well, that doesn't really go with my brand. And you really have to start to fight for your vision. And I just started to feel like if it's too much of a push and pull, I'm just going to walk away, because at the end of the day, my vision came from God. So I'm not going to let man or woman come in and just be like, oh, well, no, do it this way. Because
Right.
that's not the way that's not the way I'm supposed to be doing it. So it's been a very, a learning experience. And I've also had to learn to really speak up for myself. And that was an area that I was struggling in sometimes. So I think that's another takeaway for me, is I've had to learn to really speak up for myself and for my art and what I'm trying to say, and not compromise it just because someone says, oh, do it like this because you'll get a million Instagram likes or something. I'm not in it for all of that.
Right, right. And you got to have, like you said, your sole purpose. Like I got this vision. This was ordainedly for me. I channeled it in. I got this. I received it, and I'm following this vision. Now, everybody can't see the vision. So I always tell people, I said, sometimes it's up to us. We have to articulate the visions or parts of the visions that we need people to understand, so we're all on the same page. Because if not, you'll just keep, like missing the mark. You just keep constantly missing the mark and having to pull it back and bring it back. And it takes a lot of time having to constantly readjust to pull people in, because that vision isn't articulated on the way that you need to have it articulated, so that they understand what you see. They understand what was downloaded into you. They understand what is in your heart, because that's where it's coming from. Once it touches your mind and it becomes an idea, it moves into that heart, because then you turn it into believing that you could do it. And when you get that belief that you could do it, then it's acting on it. And that's where you're acting on what you believe that was given to you ordainedly. And now you got to take this, you got to take these steps. And I just want to kind of jump into that, only because I hear a lot of people and they'll say, well, I'm waiting on God. And I'm like, well, God helped you. He gave you what he needed. Now you have, free will. So please understand, you have free will. You do not have to do what God asks you to do. You by choice do what he asks you to do by believing, which is why I say have faith. You believe and have faith in yourself, that the message that he gives you, that you can go out and walk in those shoes. Regardless if you see yourself in it, regardless of how scared you are, regardless of if you know anything about it or not. It's just like, I love the book of Denzel Washington. This is the book of
Eli.
Eli. I was going to say everything else but Eli. But the book of Eli, I love that, because he's blind and he's walking through his divinely, divine messages, and he's not paying attention. He doesn't care. Like you said, you don't let nobody come and move you. And he did not be moved. And every obstacle he had, he just found that solution to go around what couldn't be moved. So what are your obstacles? How do you move around things that just come into your way? Because you can be on that path and say, you know what, I don't care what you do or how you do it. I got to have some kind of system and strategy as far as how I move people out and how I move people in, because you can't just throw them out, because now you have a hole in your business that you got to quickly fill, and usually filling it too fast, you may fill it with the wrong person. So on that journey, how do you transmute your environment to fit that vision?
Well, I believe that you should always have more than one person in your Rolodex, if you will, who does the same thing. So that's one. I don't think you should ever just, even if y'all cool and we've been working together for 20 years, I still got a couple people over here that could do what you do, just in case, because you just never know, and you want to make sure that your pool of resources is big, and it should be. Even if you do have your core crew. It's not always easy. Sometimes it is hard conversations, and sometimes people will fall off on themselves, because they will have told on themselves. And believe it or not, people know when they're doing you wrong. They're not naive. So sometimes they just fall off. You're like, dang, I haven't heard from such and such or whatever. And then you realize there's a disconnect. So I don't take anything personal. And that can be hard, with business. And I know it's cliche, don't take anything personal, because it can be personal for sure, because this is your brand. So really everything about it is really personal. But you have to be able to really compartmentalize that business mindset. Like, I might love you as a person and I'm never going to wish you ill or anything, but for what I need for to grow my brand, it's not working. And that doesn't have to be, people are, I think can be very vindictive and vicious in the way that they move. And I like to move with integrity. So we don't have to work together, but I can still show love for you. Even if I feel like you didn't do me right, I don't have to go around talking about you, or, you know what I mean? It's just, I think it's certain ways that you can conduct yourself, because you are going to have those challenges. It is going to be necessary to do that. So I think you develop kind of a system that I think should be based on integrity, where you can let that go. And I mean, obviously, if there are situations where it can't, then you have to handle it how you handle it. But I think that also comes with a good vetting system, working off of referrals and, really making people show you their work, because we are in an age where everybody's an expert at everything. Like, they make a Facebook page and all of a sudden, it's like they've never done it before, but they want you to. So vet people for sure. It's your right. Like, especially if you're spending your money, no, let me see your work, your portfolio, whatever it is. Let me check it out.
Right. And that is so, so important. And especially right now with the pandemic, right? Like you said, right now, everybody's an expert at everything. It threw me because I was looking on Instagram a couple of days ago, and I happened to see this sponsored post talking about be a life coach and an NLP practitioner for $7. I was like, wow, like just throw them in there, right? Like, you don't care what, they got it. Of course, everybody, like you said, is an expert at everything. And now they want to become a $7 coach and become this amazing expert at who knows what, right? So you got to be really careful. And I tell people, vet them out, right? Have a certain list of questions that you ask people that they should know, or that you need that they should know. So to make sure that you get the services that you need done. And I always tell people, pay attention to the words people use. A lot of times people regurgitate things that are already out there. So if you've done the research, like Kay said earlier, get out there, do your research, really dig in, loving on yourself and having that respect and appreciation for yourself. Then when you're coming into these, I don't know what to call them, like expert tiers, that, you're not expert by experience and, being gurus and wisdoms, you're expert by you just saying that you are. Right. But you have to be able to vet them out, look through all that makeup and Maybelline and candy coating syrup that they putting on their life, and really ask the right questions. Now, no matter what happens, asking the right questions will always get you the results that you're looking for, whether they're good or whether they're not. And I tell people all the time, you have to think about the questions you need to ask, not only of just God, because if you're not asking God the right questions, you're not going to get the right answers also. Yeah. You have to make sure you're asking the right questions. It reminds me of the movie I, Robot with Will Smith. He was towards the end of the movie where he was standing on top of that mountain, and the part of the Golden Gate Bridge was behind him. And when you look down, you were looking at all these compartments of containers, train containers are full of robots, the old robots. Right. But as he's looking down there, he gets this little disc with the hologram in it of the professor. And he asked the professor a question like, what am I supposed to be doing? And the professor said he couldn't answer the question. And he was like, so Will stopped and he really thought about it. He came back and rephrased it and asked the question a different way. And then the first thing the professor said was, now you're asking the right questions. People got to really truly understand, like, all these movies have you got nuggets in these movies. Yeah. And I mean, I see it all the time, but if you don't ask the right questions, you will never get the right answer. Like, you have to ask the right question. So whatever you're looking for, really just go deep into your soul, into your spirit, and find out what is it that you truly are looking for or need to know. And then ask the question from that standpoint.
That's good. Yeah, that's good. Yeah. That's good.
It's huge. I'm like, I'm just going off of experience of what I've learned on my journey. And this was even before coaching, because I was a construction project manager out here in Vegas for almost 20 years. So I've been out there building things, and when women were not even the right fit for construction, right? So I'm not even the right color or the right fit. So I'm in there, as a double minority in the construction industry and have to tell people what to do. So, that can be, a sticking point. But once I started asking the right questions, I started helping to find the right research to give me the foundation that I needed to be strong in that area. Right. So, and I do that with everything. I'm like, I have to ask the right questions so I could research the right information so it can strengthen my intelligence. But it's not enough to have like the knowledge and have, just the want or the will to do it. But you really got to have the understanding, that experience. You really got to feel what you're talking about. You got to feel that journey that you're on. You have to feel that vision that you were given and downloaded into you. So then that way you can know what that feeling feels like. And I tell people all the time, your feeling, when you listen to your intuition and your instinct, it will guide you on the right track. It will take you exactly where you have to go. But if you're not asking the right questions, you're going to keep like bumping your head. And then it's almost like a fight. When God was talking about being evenly yoked, be evenly yoked in your mind. So then that way, everything, your journey is easy. It just flows. You know where to go. And once you get that energetic pull that you feel and you're like, okay, this feels right. I love it when people say that this feels right. Okay, I'm gonna go with it. And it's great. Or like, it just doesn't feel right. I don't know what it is. It's something about this. Because you were built with instinct and intuition to know which way to go. But you have to definitely be on the right path mentally first to follow the path physically in your existence. Because it doesn't, the existence doesn't come before the thought. The thought comes first, and then you just gotta, like you said, have faith and just follow that journey. So like with your music, let's get into actually the songs. Y'all got to hear her music. She has such an amazing voice. I'm like, wow. And I'm just sitting here like in awe, but just give us, tell them about your music. Like really get it. I want you to tell your story with your music, the songs that, like that you really love, that really inspired you. Where'd you get that inspiration for those songs? Like just, what did how did that, because I was like, oh my goodness, this is good. It's like really good, like good. And not being like funny, but I was just like, I love her voice.
Oh man, I really appreciate that. That's that even that within itself was something I had to come to love and appreciate, because when I started, it was like, oh, you don't sound like other people, or we want you to do Aretha type songs or do this, or, so being in the space that I am today, where I love my voice too, that was a really growing moment for me. My music is to heal the soul, man. Like I've been through a lot, you know what I'm saying? A lot of mental that I've had to fight through to get here, broken heart, pain, rejection, all of those things. And I wanted my music to reflect that, because I know people can relate to that, but I wanted to do it in a hopeful way. I didn't want to just be so sad, and I wanted to be like, look, we can get through this stuff. Like this
Right.
stuff is hard, but we can get through it. And I'm very adamant about that in my music. And as I began to like pray more and really just get more into my voice, God really began to like really touch my heart and my soul and just let me know, like, I need you to heal people. I'm going to drop songs into you and they're going to heal people. And you're going to do it in a non-traditional way, because I'm not really gospel. And a lot of times when people look for inspiration, they think gospel. But I do it in all ways, because I'm influenced by all music. I like old school hip hop, I like gospel, I like neo soul, I like pop. So I feel like my music is a reflection of all of those things. And I'm always trying to just really get to the heart of the matter in my songs. You know, I don't try to be overly generic, or I don't care about like, oh, will this be a commercial success? Like, yes, there are certain elements, you know, you want to have a good hook and you want the verse to be strong. I mean, of course, you do have to have good music, but beyond that, you know, when I'm putting it out there to the masses, my goal is more so that you listen to it and somehow it relates to something in your heart that makes you ask a question. Maybe you've never asked that question before and you're like, oh, wait, what does she mean, lost connection or strong connection? Man, maybe I should look at the connections in my life. And if I can get you there, then that feels like a win for me.
And I love that. That song is fire. Like it just, but you do have to look at what connects you. What are you connected to? And love the transparency, you know, like just putting it out there, because when people have that connection to, you know, who you are and how you got started, that story is what, and being transparent in that story and being, you know, just open and saying, look, I'm being vulnerable right now. I'm giving y'all, you know, every part of me, you know, I just want you to learn off of what I've learned, and I want you to hear what I'm saying, and I want you to take your life to a whole nother level. And music is like, I think, I'm personal opinion, this is just my personal opinion, I think music hands down is like the most healing thing ever. Like you cannot get past the song, the music, the lyrics, I mean, I fell in love with music when I was a child. I fell in love with all types of music, from gospel to jazz to classical to hard rock to R&B, hip hop. You know, I've listened to so much music, especially Bach and Beethoven, and you know, and I started off with, you know, Bach and Beethoven and jazz, right? So my dad was just that guy. He was from New York, so he, you know, that's what they were into then. So I had that whole range of music, and I just fell in love with music as a child. And I tell people, I think my hardest moments, like you going back to what you said, my hardest moments in life, music is what actually got me through those moments. Music, just turning on that song and listening to that almost like the Mary J. Blige, right? The whole moment of Mary J. Blige. And now we have Tony Jones, and she's putting out that, you know, whole affirmations and things of that nature. And then we have KSO just pouring out her heart in such a way that it is connecting, you know, that you connect to that story. You connect to what you're saying. And it's like, she gets me. She feels me. You know, I love this. Like, I'm not the only one. And that's mainly the main thing that people want to be. They just don't want to be the only one going through it. They don't want to feel like they're alone going through this situation. And that's part of human behavior. So I love neuroscience, and I get into just studying neuroscience because, I needed to answer those questions for myself. And that was the first question I had at 16 is, how do I get my body to do what I wanted to do? You know what I'm saying? Because I felt the disconnect from just what I was doing out of habit, but I also know what I really truly wanted to do. And it was a pull. It was like you're being pulled and split into this Y formation, but music almost brought it back for me. And almost like, you know, just couples your heart and just warms your heart and just coddles you to bring you back to, like, you know what, I really need to stop thinking, you know, how I've been thinking. And I need to listen to what she's saying, because she got a nugget in there. How does she get out of it? And that's the main thing I started listening to at that point was, okay, how did you get out of it? So I'm listening for the, you know, in the song, and it's almost like I'm in school. I'm listening and enjoying the music, but I'm like, I know you got the answer in there, right? You got the answer. And, you know, and so much music does have that answer of like how they got out of it. But you can't get somebody out of a place in their life, especially if it's a tough place, if you haven't been there, if you haven't had the experience of getting yourself out of that tough place. And that goes back to when we talking about these $7 coaches. Like, how many tough places have you been in? How many stories do you have to back that tough place up? Because that's where your experience is coming from. Do you have enough self-experience and self-exploration to put that into articulate it into music or into whatever it is that you're doing to get your message out there? And you're doing like an amazing job. at getting your message out there through music. That is like, I love music like that. I love it. I don't want it to just, just be somebody that doesn't make any sense in whatever they're saying. Make it make sense, but give me a story. Make me feel you through your music, and I feel you through your music. And that's what I look for when I'm listening to any music. Like, it doesn't matter what it is. Can I feel you? Can I feel, even if I want to feel your pain, even through the song, and it's a positive song, I still want to feel your pain, because through me feeling your pain, I get to experience it with you. And as an artist, that is like profound to me, how you guys do that. Like, it is profound how you did it. It's like, okay, I can help articulate. And with music, it's not as much as the words that I've learned. It's, can I feel your tone with the words that you're saying to make me get it and have that aha moment, that, oh my gosh, she hit it for me moment. And it could be something that people have talked about and told you a million times. But your song, the way it is said, and the energy that you put into every single word that you're saying, makes the meaning so different. So different. So I want to know how you feel in these songs, because I know I've heard it, I've connected to the feeling, but I'm like, and then I'm listening to you, and I'm like, okay, I was feeling, that right energy, I was feeling that right vibe, because everything has to be in alignment. But like that feeling, like just how you put it into there, that's what I want to understand. Like, as a singer, I know as a coach, and I'm speaking, and like you said, God will start downloading. And then it's the conversation that you're having is not technically from you. You're just getting this information and the inspired action of words and things that you want to say, and it's coming out and you say it, right? But yours, you don't just come out and say it. You have to sing it. And then the tones that you're using in the music are hitting different neuroreceptors in the mind to make that feeling more intense. That's what I want to talk about.
I mean, I wish I had like just a straightforward, like 1, 2, 3, 4. This is how it's done. I when I go into the studio, usually I have done a lot of pre-production at home, because I have my home set up. So I'll record the whole song, work on how backgrounds, because I really like to be prepared when I'm going into that big studio, spending that money. Ain't nobody got time to be playing around. But when I go in, it is a story for me. So, like, for instance, with Lost Connection, I did have to pull on like those experiences, and I'm in a point where I'm elevating in my career, and you start to see things fall off, because that's really what that song is about. It's about, elevation, and how you have to let things go in you that are holding you back, as well as people around you. And I imagined that story. I have that story in my head when I'm in the studio, whatever it is. And then I'm thinking about, how do I want to say this? I got a little attitude about this. I want these lyrics to hit. So I may do a couple takes and just put different emotions behind it, just to see how it feels and how it flows. Because that is my thought. And so when we're listening to it, it's like, we want to hear it too. We want to hear some of that pain, and we want to hear that too. And so if we hear that, then it's like, okay, if we can hear it, we know other people will hear it. And I'm just a believer that whatever comes from the heart will touch the heart of people. And so I don't do anything that's not from my heart and my soul. And so if nothing else, when I go in that studio, I am pouring out the lessons of my life. I am pouring out the meditations of my heart. And so, my hope is that through that microphone, through all those plugins and all of that stuff, when it hits your ears, it'll be the reaction. It'll be that reaction where you can hear that. And I think it's a consistency thing too. Just constantly working on my craft, constantly, challenging myself vocally, and just pushing that envelope to get my message across.
I'm sitting here getting chills, y'all. I mean, because I'm thinking about the song, and I'm sitting here looking at Kate. I'm listening to how she even got, just put it in there. And Man, you do an amazing job with
Oh, thank
connecting with your song and your story. You do, and I can't say that for everybody. And I've listened. I mean, I'm almost 50 right now. You know, I'm 50 next year, but and
you.
music
Don't
has
look
been a
like
part.
it.
Thank you. And I tell people, yeah, music, no. But you really stand up to your name, K Soul, and I love it. It's simple. It's on point. Just like the music is simple. It's on point. It's not like I gotta search for the answer, search for the plan, and search and see. It's right there. You just make it like just it's right there. Just listen, and I got you. I got you. I know how you feeling. I know what you going through. I understand. I get you. I get you. But being able to have the, like you said, you're practicing, and that goes a long way. Like being proactive, people don't understand. That goes a very long way in being prepared for that final cut, because you're over there practicing it over and over, and you're like, okay, you can be out there having fun. And it's like, well, let me go practice this music, because you know what energy you're in. And then if it's a fun song, you're putting the right energy in that. You can't be having fun and then wanting to go sing a song to help people connect, right? You can't, that's the wrong energy. And people don't understand, like, you were in a completely wrong energy to even sing this song. Like, what are you doing? Like, go out and have a heartbreak. Go have a bad day and then come back and sing this song. Right. Come back and sing, because it's going to come out the way you need to. And a lot of people don't understand that, especially new and upcoming artists. You understand, you really can't just, it's not off the fly. Even authors, and you write music, you can't sit there and be a writer and just write off the cuff because, oh, I just feel like writing right now. No, baby, you got to be in the right energy. You got to be in the right mindset. You have to be able to feel what you have to write before you write it. I know it makes sense to you, but anybody out there, you have to feel what you got to write before you write it, because if you're not feeling it, it's not going to come out right. It's going to come out totally. The words are going to be different. The words are not even going to sound right to you, because internally you know what it's supposed to sound like, but you're forcing it. So now it's coming out sounding completely different. And now you're changing the words. Then you get frustrated and get irritated, like this is not coming out right. Go change your energy first. Mm-hmm. Go change your energy, and it's gonna be perfect. And I tell people, I said, if you ever been in the flow, I wrote poetry back in the day, and I love writing. I love writing poetry. I even wanted to just, that's all I wanted to do, and then it went other places. But writing is something that you really got to be in the mood with, and it has to be something that you personally feel before you write it. So then that way it reflects that greatness that you're feeling inside, and it comes out in what you're writing. And that is like so big right there. I'm big on feelings. And I tell people I'm an empath. I feel people's energies, and I pretty much know what you're feeling, before you don't have to say it. I already know,
Yeah.
And then sometimes you'll go back and say, you know what? I think I did too much over here, or too much, and I shouldn't have done this or that. And then somebody come and say, well, you know what? So-and-so said X, Y, and Z, and you're getting the feedback. And in your mind, you're like, yeah, I already know. I already caught it before you caught it. But that's when you know that you're in tune with yourself, and you have your self-awareness on high. You worked on your personal development. You know who you are, because you are already feeling the room. You're feeling your environment. You're feeling that, having that social awareness over what's going on. And you know how to connect to your audience. You know how to connect to even a virtual audience like right now. You know what it takes to connect at those moments. And like going on stage, that's a whole nother thing. And we're going to talk about that one real hot quick, but because I really want to get into your modeling also, but definitely, and we got like 10 minutes, about 12 minutes, but we're going to get this in. But before you go on stage, y'all know a lot of people get nervous, you get jitters, and you should be nervous, right? Like coming from a sports background, the butterflies in your stomach and the nervousness is a sign that you're ready. Like you just got to trust that energy, like, okay, I'm ready to go out here and get on fire. But how do you like bring it all in, be right before you have to hit that stage?
I think in answering that, just to go back to something you said just about preparation, I think that is a big part of that, preparation. I would tell any artist whose brand, whatever you're doing, prepare. You can never be over prepared. I get that nervous feeling all the time. I have a performance coming up in a couple days, and my stomach been a little bit more queasy as the days go by. But I've also been rehearsing with my band. I'm excited. I'm ready, and I've also have experience under my belt now. So that's the other part about pushing yourself out there. Get those shows under your belt, even if it's open mics. You got to crack on the mic, forget the lyric, do all that there, because that's going to prepare you when you are getting to those bigger stages. And it is nerve-wracking, but when you hit that, it's something for me. You know, once I say that prayer and I take those few sips of tea that I always like to have, and once they call my name and I walk out, hit that mic, all of that goes out the window, because now I feel like this is what I'm supposed to be doing. This is what all of the struggle, all of the sacrifice has been about. So it's like, it's go time now. So, and now that I've been doing it so long and I've grown that confidence, because that's very important in performing. I think with performing, the only way to really build confidence is to do it. You really have to do it. Because you got to be confident, because you have to be able to, like you said, and push those emotions and get people to connect, and people will feel that if you're not confident and you're not sure of what you're doing. So rehearsal, all of those things, practicing, doing other shows, all of those prepare you for the larger stages. So for me, it's like a focus thing, and I have my routines, but also because I've proven to myself time and time again. So I remind myself of that too. Like, girl, come on, you done this. Like, let's go out here and slay this stage.
Right. And you gotta, oh my goodness, like what she said is like a lot, right? Because I'm like, I want to hit all of it, but I'm like, nope, time, right? But you have to understand that when you connect yourself to what you're ready for, you're preparing for, and like she said, you got to practice. I don't care if there's nobody in that whole, whoever's there, when you go on stage, if there's nobody in the audience, or if one person in the audience, or the only people out there in the audience are the cameraman, the light man, the sound guy, your manager, or just your family, your friends, and there's nobody else out there in that stage, in that audience, perform like you got a full house. Yep. Put in your mind. I don't care if you, and I tell people all the time, mentally fill the room. In your mind, mentally fill that room up. If it's virtual, mentally just come up with an amazing high number and say, you know what, I got 100 people over here watching me, and you got to get on there and give it like there's 100 people watching you, or 1,000 or 10,000 or 100,000 people watching you. Whatever your goal is, you got to have that in your mind when you're up there, because in the beginning, you can get support by here and there people. It's not going to always be full. It's going to look real empty. And trust me, I know, because you have the moments where you're like, I don't even want to do this class. You get down on yourself, but you got to understand that everything is a perception. Mm-hmm. So the story you tell yourself is the perception you give yourself when you have to perform, when it's go time. That story you tell yourself is going to build that perception, and that's going to equate to what chemical is going to be released in your neurons and your neuroreceptors on how you feel. So if that feeling is off, that whole performance is off. Yep. And people don't understand, you're going to shoot yourself in the foot if you go out there and you're like, there's nobody here. Like, I don't even know what I'm doing here. Like, I don't even want to get into this. And if you allow that energy to take over, then whatever comes out of your mouth and off, just out of your body at that time is going to be the same thing. And guess what? There goes everybody else, because now you're not even performing or even speaking or articulating in the way that you should to keep their attention. You have to go out there and get their attention, even if they're imaginary or just visions of the audience. You still got to catch their attention, and capture that attention, because like you said, it's your practice. I don't care if you got to go in there and say, okay, ain't nobody on here, but I'm getting ready to practice this out. I'm getting ready to talk this out, because the more I do it, the clearer I get, the more articulate articulate my words better and what I'm saying. And I can have more eloquent language as I build it and gain my understanding and get my research. And when you're ready, what you got to understand is you will not get that download from God until you are ready to move to the next step. You will not say, okay, I need you to ask the right questions. I need you to do this. I need you to connect to your feelings until you're ready to get there. So if you can't even get over your nerves of fear, doubt, worry, and your self-esteem, you dropping your self-esteem on your own. If you can't get past that, you're not ready for all the rest of it, because guess what? They're going to tear your self-esteem up, because everybody's not going to like you. Everybody is not your audience, but everybody has an opinion.
Yes,
on what you're doing. And so you got to be able to build, and that whole process, like Kay was saying, builds your tough skin to be able to say, you know what, no matter what, I'm on point, I'm ready, my music is good, it's coming out great. And if anybody has anything to say, guess what? I really don't care what you know. That's your opinion. I feel you. Thank you for your opinion. I'm okay with that. Have a great day. And then, you know, they move on. But you have to have that tough skin. But in modeling, I know it's like so much, like you said, how much time do we have? I know an hour does not seem, hour in the beginning seemed like a lot of time, but it goes by so fast. Yeah. But I want you to kind of give me your modeling, like what are your next steps for your modeling? What are you looking forward to do?
Actually, I work with a designer. Shout out Sasha Walton. She's out of Milwaukee. She designed my look for my show I did back in June, which is also the cover of Lost Connection, that flower mask, and she designed a cape. So I'm having her design some new looks for me. I actually want to start a clothing line. I just see a void, for what I like. And I want to do something about that. So that's hopefully my next goal. My next goal is to have her design these pieces that will kind of be sample pieces of what I want to bring with my clothing line, hopefully in the coming year.
I love that mask. I was like, it matches your little jacket or bro. I was like, oh my gosh, that is so cute. I mean, the whole pink, and then I was like, that's cute. I never even thought about putting, the flowers on the mask and matching. Yeah. I was like, wow, I like that. I said, I really like that. I said, that is like really, that was really cute. I was like, hey, I said, it's better than putting it in your hair, you know what I mean? But
yeah, something different that kind of spoke to the times. And it's my thoughts. I be having all of these thoughts. So the fact that she was able to kind of take my crazy messages to her and create that, I'm like, okay, we probably be good together, because you understand a little bit of because sometimes you know how it is when those thoughts come and you're like, oh, I want to do this, and it's like, I don't know if that makes sense, but do you get it?
Yeah, right. And I tell people, I said, I got so many thoughts and so many ideas that come in my mind, because I'm just a highly creative person. So you get those thoughts, and like you get those thoughts, and they just rush in your mind, and it's like, I want to do this, I want to do that. Am I saying it right? Like, you got that, and then you're looking at it like, that ain't what I said though. That is almost there, but it's not exactly what I was thinking. Like, can you do this and tweak this and tweak that? And they would come up like, well, she's so picky. No, you just have it got to match the vision in my mind. I got a vision for this, and I know what it got to look like, and I want it to look like what I'm thinking about it looks like. Just match that, right? So I get it. It's almost like, here, let me draw. I'm not good of a drawer, but can you get? Yeah. You try to put it in there and almost do sign language and everything. Like, did you get it? Did you get it? But it looks amazing. It looks great. And then with the new cover that you have for Lost Connections, that is like with that mask, and then I was like, this is so cute. I was like, yeah, she's a model. This is her lane. This is definitely her lane. This is perfect for her. I know we down to the last few minutes of the show, but tell everybody how they can get to you and how they can contact you if they want to book you for a show, because y'all want to book her for a show, just putting it out there.
Yes, definitely. I'm available for bookings. You can reach me on my website, www.ksoulmusic.com. If you want to book me, you can email my management. Shout out Brian Irby, One Nation Under God Records. You can email One Nation Under God Inc. at gmail.com. And you can also connect with me on Instagram. I'm pretty active on there, which is at KSoulMusic.
Perfect. And Brian is doing an amazing job. I mean, I love his communication, and that is this is great. I mean, thank you, Mr. Irby, because yes, that communication and going back and forth. Sometimes it get a little sticky with some, with some people in businesses, and we work with so many people on the platform. So definitely big shout out to you, Brian Irby, because the communication is easy. I don't have to chase you. I don't have to do any of that things. It's perfect. So you got an amazing support system. Thank you, Kay, for being on the show. Loving you. Y'all got to follow her and listen to her music and see what she's doing, because I know she's about to do some really big things. You know where you can catch me at right there. Boom, boom. Desiree Williams at blank tag. Add that .org at the end of that, and that is my email address. You can catch my website is being currently updated still, so I'm still working on that because I have a lot of things I need to move around and do. And that is www.blanktag.shop. Also, you can catch me on Facebook at Desiree Passionate One Williams, Passionate One for a reason, because I have more passion for what you're doing with your life a lot of times than you have for yourself. And I'm going to see and I'm going to feel what you're doing. And I have the passion for you. And I'm supporting everybody that comes on here and everybody out there making moves. I'm supporting you, Passionate One. And blank underscore tag underscore IG or Facebook is my business pages. Thank everybody so much for tuning in. We'll see you next Saturday. Have an amazing rest of your weekend. Kay, thank you so much. I'll see you backstage.
Thank you.